All right, well, welcome back to After Hours Ag. This is another interview we are doing at the Dakota Fest Farm Show. And one of the things that we've gotten to have is that we have a great booth neighbor. We talked about booth neighbors a long time ago in one of our podcasts, and we were talking about what makes a good booth neighbor and what makes a bad booth neighbor. And so these guys are good booth neighbors.
They probably don't like us.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're usually the ones that are encroaching and, can we move this there, always trying to do our best, but we've had a lot of great booth neighbors, and we talked about some of the things that make the bad booth neighbors too. But we have Jay and Lance here from, how do you pronounce it? LefeBvre?
LefeBvre and Sons.
LefeBvre and Sons. LefeBvre, and you spell that Lefebvre.
Yes, sir.
LefeBvre and Sons. All right, so let's start out. Why don't you guys tell me just about the business right now, the way it stands. What I know that you guys do trucking, and if you guys check out their Instagram, they have this amazing. What are they hauling? Is it a precast concrete piece and
bridge beams?
Bridge beams,
mm-hmm.
And it looks intense.
It's awesome.
Yeah, you think about the ladder trucks, that you have steering from the front and the back. It's basically the exact same thing, except bigger. Yeah. So anyway, tell me a little bit about the business. How big are you, and what is it you mostly do?
Yeah. So the main portion of our business is finished concrete and precast, and beyond that, it's over-dimensional freight, oversized, permanent loads. We really like to specialize that in the asset side. And then as of recently, we just acquired a heavy haul business here that has a good presence with a big vendor up in our area that aligns with all of the areas that we're located in, which we service basically the Fargo area, Minneapolis Metro, Des Moines, Altoona, Kansas City, Omaha, and Sioux Falls.
Okay, so mainly upper Midwest area that you guys service. Where's the headquarters at?
Elk River.
In Elk River, Minnesota. Yeah. So, and you're saying it's roughly a 100-year-old company. Yep. Where did the company start? What was the origin of the company? So it started in the early 20s. So definitely weathered the Great Depression.
Yep.
Where did it start, and kind of how did it make its way through that? Navigating all the challenges that were back then, if you know.
Yeah. So it was 1928. It started with hauling milk way back in the day. It was my great grandpa, and from milk, it then went to the boys getting old enough. They were hauling milk as they were growing up, and then locally there was a concrete producer that came into the picture. Oh, I forget when that was. I think it was late 40s. Yeah, late 40s. It was that they then were like, well, we can do this. We got the trucks. We just got to start buying a little bit bigger trucks. So they started working with the Cretex at the time. It was a family-owned business, local. And the boys got in. Then they started fizzling out. Two of the brothers left, which then just left my grandpa. And then his three boys, so my dad and two uncles, then bought in, and now we're here. My brother was there for a bit. He left. He had bought a portion of the business. It was bulk pneumatic tankers, so he's hauls into the plants that make concrete, just a byproduct of it. And he's still doing that, totally separate. And then I've been there since I was a kid, basically, from washing trucks to changing oil, changing tires, working in the shop, helping out in the inventory. There's basically every facet of it other than the finance department I've been through: dispatch, brokerage, running the whole maintenance for it. And then as of now, right now, I'm vice president underneath my dad. And we're in a good place.
Yeah. So when you were growing up, what was the size of the business as you were, maybe going through elementary and then into like junior high? How many trucks did you have in the fleet? Where were you at that point?
Yeah, it's growing up, we've kind of, as of recently, we're finally building some steam back into it. 2008 was real tough with the construction and everything, housing market, nobody was building, so then the small drainage pipe and all that wasn't going in the ground, and it was pretty tough, and they were pretty stubborn to really differentiate. They wanted to stay just hauling concrete, and it took a toll on them. And at that point, we were up to 118 trucks, and that move there was, it hurt. They learned a lot from it, but it's just, you got to keep going. You got to work with what you got and what's available at the times. And the customer, as of recently, has changed hands. It's not family owned anymore. It went big, publicly traded, and private equity money, they just pumped it up to dump it, and we all kind of knew it was happening. So that was a very interesting acquisition to follow through all of that. And then it just got sold again now to a Quikrete company. It is a Quikrete company now, so, and they're monsters, but they bought it to just capture market share, and they actually had to divest within the purchase because they were going to basically control the whole market.
Really, they were going to have a potentially antitrust suits or something placed against them. That's amazing.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah, so you said you got up to 118 trucks at one point.
Yep.
Is that the peak of the company? Or would that have been the peak of the company overall?
That was the most trucks that we had ever had, and that was, I think that was 9 locations at that time.
Okay.
Yeah.
And where's the fleet at today as far as roughly how many trucks do you guys have today?
80 tractors.
80, okay.
Yep.
Yeah,
About
so you're definitely
20.
building back up to that point where you were in the past, and so you're the vice president. How long have you been in this role then?
Just as of recently, what was it? Q1, basically. January.
Yeah.
I just moved into it.
Yeah, so you said you grew up in it, very much so like a lot of these farmers who, there's not many people who just start into farming.
Fourth generation company.
Yeah, fourth generation company here. When did you know you wanted to be a part of the company and keep going with the company?
I think the biggest thing at the point when I finally got into maintenance and that opened up, because it was a huge gamble for my dad and everybody else. They didn't think I could do the job. I'd not really technically tackled that much responsibility. I was coming out of the truck, and the current maintenance manager was leaving, and we didn't have anything out. We had 2 weeks to try to gather everything together, and when I finally got my feet wet with that and learned so much in the maintenance side, just with our maintenance software, the TMT, the Trimble product, and that's when I was like, okay, I've got to get my big boy pants on here finally, settle down and really double down on the business, and just kept trying to learn more and more and bring whatever knowledge I could to the whole team there.
Yeah, so you said you came from the truck then.
Yeah,
so you were actually driving.
Yep.
How many years were you driving truck then?
It was only 3 years.
3 years, okay.
Yep.
Okay, did you enjoy driving truck?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun.
Still does.
Yeah.
Still does,
Yeah, still do. Yeah, when we get busy, like I'll probably be in a truck next week because we got Bridger log books because they can only work 14 hours a day. And we got it going during the day, and the resets screw everything up, so it's lovely. But luckily, we got a good group of guys there. There's 4 office guys that got their CDLs, and we're able to. They're troopers. They'll jump in, help out whenever we need it. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, you pretty much came from, I wouldn't necessarily call the drivers the ground, but it kind of came in from that. You got to do some of the maintenance before when you were in school. You got to do the oil changes. You got to probably maintain the trucks in other ways too, and then drove them for a while. And really, you've worked your way all the way through the business at this point, and really trial by fire, because you said the guy was leaving in 2 weeks and somebody needed to jump in and somebody needed to know it. And, I think a lot of times it's easier to promote from within in some ways, and then other ways it's not. Lance, we've barely talked with you yet. Yeah. What do you do here?
I came on about 6 months or so ago. It hasn't even been that long, actually. May. I've been in the logistics world for about the last 10 years in some capacity. Came over here. Honestly, they were hauling a lot of freight for me when I was at another brokerage, and I ended up just saying one day I was kind of getting fed up with a few things that were going on, and I made a call to the one driver I had a really good connection with down in Kansas that he moved everything for me. I mean, he was quoting everything for me at one point, but when can you pick it up? And overseeing the brokerage, jumped over here, really got my hands wet with just sales and trying to grow the sales aspect. We've been in, we have 3 different businesses in the LefeBvre companies. One is Triple L, the acquisition that Jay was talking about out of Minneapolis. They go up to 13 axles, pretty much move anything you ask them to. And then LefeBvre and Sons is the concrete kind of precast, handling majority of that. And then L&S Transportation's been around since '96, and that's what I came on to grow. We've only really used the MC for the last, 5 or so years. Yeah. And kind of the diversify our business portfolio, they brought me on, and my focus has really been how do we move more equipment and how do we focus on other aspects of the industry that can help us grow and diversify our portfolio to really focus on the growth of the company. And obviously we all know up here in the Midwest, old man winter strikes and concrete work dies down. So how do we focus on keeping our drivers busy during the winter, and that's something I've been tasked with. And then shortly thereafter I sat down into a meeting about a month and a half in and was asked to lead the brokerage. So we added 3 more salespeople and really have just sky's the limit for us on the brokerage side. And one thing I can say is working for a 4th generation family company, I can lean on Jay. Garrett, our GM, is another. He has his CDL as well. And just respect goes a long way when these guys are willing to go do the grunt work with everyone else. And, I think that's stuck with me, and that really means a lot to me and the drivers. I think the drivers see that and go, they're willing to get dirty with me. And Jay just got off of a Red Wing project about a month or so ago, moving some bridge beams down to Red Wing at night. So not only are we in the truck, but we're grinding the stuff that's not real fun. So a lot of that just sticks with you and really helps push, and that's what's going to make the difference for us in the long haul.
Yeah, I just watched a reel from Steve Jobs talking about, for a while at Apple, they went through this time where they just hired good managers, like people that could manage, but couldn't necessarily do. And I think he was saying there that, and we realized that just wasn't good. You needed people who people respected, people that, would get down and get in the trenches and could do things that weren't just, hey, let's have you go over here, let's work more please. People that can actually go out there and spin a wrench or drive the truck. And that's huge. That servant leadership is huge in family owned businesses. That's awesome. So you were talking about brokerage, the brokerage company. Are you you were talking about moving equipment. Are you doing most of that for businesses, or are you doing, like, if you're a farmer and you call up and you say, hey, I just bought a air seeder in Texas, can you truck it up to Fargo for me? Is that something that you guys would be doing, or is that not really in your business?
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. We'll move anything for anybody. We like to get them on our own assets. We have over 250 trailers. So if we can put it on our own assets and move it, we love seeing our red trucks into new customers, whether it's a farm site or a dealership. We move it for both. It's actually kind of cool. I moved a 15.2 wide combine this week from Illinois to Minnesota, and and air seeders are the same. I mean, we can ready calls. We're gonna be at the ready to bring you whatever you guys need. So we've just really really pushed on that, and I think a lot of our values match up with a lot of companies out there, and we got a lot of experience on our team as well, so it's been good.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, with the brokerage side, it makes the asset side they both help each other so much, and it makes it more viable for us to come in and have a full transportation solution for a customer that they may be getting stiffed on and working with so many different carriers. We can basically say, well, if it is beyond our capacity, we can fill that void with it all under one roof for you at that point.
Yeah, so I believe that a challenge in the trucking industry is being loaded both ways. How is that for you guys? Are you guys a lot of times unloaded on the way to wherever you're picking it up, or are you guys able to pick up trucking? Are you able to logistically get loads back and forth?
We do our absolute best to keep guys loaded. Sometimes it's not an option. Sometimes if it's a customer demand or there's just nothing, we're sent to a kind of a dead freight area per se. We focus on loading them out. So if we're going to take a customer load in, we have a tendency to find them something back either through our other broker partners that we use, or hopefully one of our customers has got something for us that's going to bring them out of wherever they are. So we really try to keep the trucks loaded absolutely as much as possible.
Yeah, so if somebody were to buy a piece of farm equipment, who knows where, what kind of timeline are we talking about from, they call in, let's just say they're not in a hurry. They're like, I need this in the next 6 months. How long, pretending it's a relatively central location for both pickup and drop off, how long do you think it takes to get them in and get that piece of equipment back to their farm?
We really try to get it to the customer within 10 to 14 days.
Wow.
So we try and give it the quickest. When you spend the amount of money that a lot of this farm equipment goes for these days, you want it as fast as you can get it. Mm-hmm. And so the quicker the better. Now, obviously, we have a very well-produced verification to make sure all of our carriers are vetted correctly. We're not, you buy a $300,000 piece, we verify they have at least $300,000 in cargo. We want to limit, by the grace of God, we don't have an accident, nothing happens, and he keeps us on the straight and narrow. We really just want to focus on getting it to and from safely with the right people. There's a lot of, as in any industry, there's a lot of fraud going on. There's a lot of theft going on with equipment. So it's very crucial for us to hire the right people to do the job if we can't put it on our own assets.
Yeah, that's something I hadn't even been thinking about, was fraud and theft, where, in some ways they might be trying to contract you to go take something. That I had never even thought about that as a thing. Is that, how common is that you'd get those kinds of calls that people are trying to take things like that? Is that a common thing, or is it kind of just something that?
Fortunately, we have not had any issues with that. We pay for our vetting system handsomely.
Yeah.
But it probably saves us a lot in the long run. I just had a broker friend in the industry that they had a piece of equipment that was picked up in Salt Lake City, and it was to the Port of Washington within a day or two, and on a ship, stolen. That was supposed to come back to the Midwest. So, the vetting process is getting serious. The biggest thing with a lot of the new equipment is there's GPS tracking systems on them. Now, a lot of these guys are also smart enough to either turn them off or find a way to snip the wire so they can't track them. But a lot of these companies, Komatsu, the construction guys, John Deere, Case IH for the tractors, they all have minute-by-minute GPS systems, so they can literally watch that thing drive down the road. So that's been a saving grace, but on some of the stuff, the attachments and stuff, you don't have those features. And so, again, just making sure that the carriers are vetted properly, and we're doing our due diligence to make sure that it's done correctly and to the best of our ability. So we've really pushed on that, and it's been great. It's been a good tool that we use. It's called Highway. it's bulletproof, and it's within. I think they just came out with it about a year ago, but it truly, there's a lot of sections of things you have to go through to qualify to be a carrier through that vetting program.
Wow, that's awesome.
Definitely something, switching gears here, that we love at Ready is, branding, getting our logo out there, especially on our fleet vehicles. We got a good looking Kenworth over here. Is this kind of what the whole fleet looks like? That's
a lot of the 4 axles that we got here, but a lot of it is, as of recently this year, we brought in 567 Peterbilts, and we've been back and forth with Peterbilt Kenworth, and usually it's as of the previous years was T880s Kenworth, small bunks. We've been looking at some different things, but the more regional we've been getting, the bunks keep getting bigger. These guys are like, I need something bigger than a coffin sleeper if I'm going to be staying in this thing for the week or 2 weeks at a time. And it's been interesting to watch the fleet kind of turn as we grow and get with the times.
Yeah.
The cool thing is the logo and the color schemes have stayed the same for a long time, and that's one thing that we really pride ourselves in, is keeping it clean, keeping it classy.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say we try to do that too, right, Adam?
Oh, for sure. Always having that attention to detail, that eye to, like, all the lines are straight. And
that's right. I mean, we were here 2 days ago, and Jay was busy waxing.
Every morning he's been waxing.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things that you don't notice until it's not good. It's the kind of thing that you're going to notice because you take pride in that truck. And So what, how about employees that you've had? How long is your longest standing employee right now? Probably somebody getting close to retirement.
Well, my dad.
Your dad, yes.
Yeah. Well, what is it? I think he's been, what'd that be? 58 this year, and I think he started working when he was 18, so.
Yeah, 40 years.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he's been there a long time, and then we had a driver retire here 3 years ago, and he had been there for 36 years.
Wow. So good retention.
Yeah. The older guys that were there back in the day that are just our senior drivers that are on our bigger, more important freight, they've just been good. They know what they know how it needs to be done to our standards, and they've been able to be really good leaders for the younger guys even coming in, and just to show them the ropes and understand the LefeBvre way, just how we haul our product.
That's exactly what I was about to say, is the LefeBvre way. I mean, we talk about that often at Ready, where we're like, it's got to be done the Ready way. And what is that? I mean, customers are taken care of. You are making sure that you're contacting them back, calling people back. I mean, I'm sure you work in it when you're bidding stuff for people, but just that phone call back it's the basics, right? Mm-hmm. But it's got to be done. It's got to be done right, and it's got to be done well. What else you got, Madison?
I was, Lance. Were you on the road driving at all?
I was not.
Okay.
I've been an office junkie my whole career.
Office junkie, same. I want to know a little bit though, Jay, about like the life on the road. What is that like for people who have no idea what that is?
Oh, I personally have never done it, but we've had drivers that they'll be bare minimum, sleep in a sleeper, just that's it. Then there's some guys that got the whole house with them. They got an air fryer. They'll have a mini skillet at the truck stop grilling out, and they'll have a full cooler packed with meat, this, that, and the other. And yeah, it's a little different. I've never had to shower in a truck stop shower. I've heard they're nice if you go to the right ones. But we just had a driver the other day. He's like, I've never done it, and I'm never doing it. That's disgusting. That's like, it's got to be like, what did he say, your old high school basketball locker room. And he's like, No, it's your own room. You got room to set all your stuff down, this, that, change, shower. They clean it after every guy. Yeah, that part, I didn't know he didn't know that wasn't like a locker
Younger
room.
guy or older guy?
Yeah, younger.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's just like 30.
It'd be even funnier if he was like 55 or something and been doing this for like the last 30 years or something. Like, I had no idea.
Yeah, I think it truly takes a special person to live that lifestyle. The 4 weeks out at a time, a lot of those days, there's a lot of guys that still do it, but I think, that was way more common 20 years ago when guys would stay out 6-8 weeks at a time and come home and see the kids for a few days. Mom was home with them all the time. Things have definitely changed, but it truly takes a special person to be able to live that lifestyle by yourself. It's mentally takes a toll on you. So I think, it's something I couldn't do. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, those guys are pretty special. Just being away from family, I think, would be the biggest thing for me.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so what they do, I mean.
And if something happens, someone gets sick, something happens on the road, and you feel helpless because you're thousands of miles away.
Yeah. So thinking about the loads you guys have hauled and the loads you've bid, what's some of the, maybe name one or two or a few of the more interesting things you've loaded, or maybe some of the bigger stuff you've loaded? I know I talked about the Instagram reel where you guys are hauling bridge parts or bridge pieces.
Beams,
bridge beams,
girder.
Yeah, that's amazing. What else would kind of blow somebody's mind? Or
well, I'll tell you for sure. Coming over here, I was never in the precast world. I was always in the equipment, and these guys got me looking at every freaking bridge beam I drive past now. Every time you drive past a bridge on there, driving past an overpass, you look at the beams, and it's like, I wonder if we hauled those. We just conquered. Those were the largest beams that we had right there in Elk River, just a few miles from our shop. They're nearly 200 feet long,
198,
and about 245,000 pounds each.
Yeah, they're 248 on paper. They ended up scaling out at like 265, but
so
that was
fortunately
just
they
a
were
beam.
Yeah, they're short distance, but I got to go with and sit in the pilot truck on that, and it is amazing. I mean, these drivers are top of the line. They're not, the quote-unquote steering wheel holders. They're definitely not that. State police involved in the whole 9 yards. So I think that was kind of the biggest from the concrete side. I mean, we've hauled some pretty big pieces of equipment, 190,000-pound excavators, tractors. I've hauled some 715s, the new cases. I've hauled the new 9 Series John Deeres. Combines, I think the widest combine I've ever hauled is about 17 feet wide. The air, it's not uncommon for air seeder or planter to get that wide as well. So it gets big. It gets heavy, and the knowledge that these drivers have to get the job done is impressive.
Yeah, how do you even progress into that point? Like, what would you just start driving a truck to get started, and you kind of just keep moving up as people notice that you're not having accidents and you're getting your stuff done on time?
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. And the other thing I've always, we always have a handful of yes man. Yeah, I'll go. Yeah, you want to go spend a couple nights out of town? Yeah, I'll take it. Oh, all right, sweet. It's like they're always just jumping on board, and then it's like, hey, you think I could get into some of that? Work our way in slowly, jump in a 4-axle or whatever, start hauling some bridge, this, that, and the other, and because you keep saying yes, and you're just willing to work. You're good with everybody else, and it's just everybody kind of comes together, and that 4-axle group is kind of where everybody wants to progress to, and that group they're almost the gatekeeper of those drivers. Because it's like, I don't think he's going to make it. It's like, okay, I'm trusting you guys. He doesn't work well with anybody. It's like, okay, that's fine with me.
Yeah.
If you guys want to pick and choose who you think is going to make a good fit for that application that we do, that we take very seriously.
Yeah. It was actually kind of funny on Wednesday, just to lead into that. One thing that's really cool about LefeBvre is we have what's called a driver council. So Jay and our GM, every other Wednesday at 5 o'clock in the morning, sit in with a group of captain type drivers, guys that are experienced and hear a lot from other drivers, and take what they're saying seriously. And how can we make changes to better our drivers, to keep the longevity up in the company, to keep them happy, to keep turnover down. And I think that, again, just says a lot about the company when you're willing to listen. And that's what a lot of these guys want, is just an ear to understand what's going on and within the company, and that we're not holding any secrets from them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome to hear it just seems like they're the elite. They're the special ops of the company, that have this amount of respect and that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, we threw it out there. It was kind of the driver pool, basically, for the most part, elected this group, thinking they were the best guys, this, that, and the other. And then we had some volunteers that totally aligned with the group, and we're just like, this is good. I like it.
Yeah.
We can work with this. And it's nice because we got 5 guys out of our Elk River location. And there's 2 of our Iowa guys, and then 2 of our Kansas guys. So it's got a little bit of everywhere, so everybody's kind of working with everybody, and they always got their finger on the pulse, which is kind of nice because we're not on site. We're not seeing these guys that aren't putting edge protectors on the customer's product or whatever, just little things that they're like, no, but I got them. I told them. I made them rechain it down, this, that, and the other. I'm like, perfect. This is exactly what this thing is for. To just start leading top down.
Yep.
That's the only way it works.
Yeah. How long have you been doing this council? How long have you been doing it?
They did it back, I think it was 2019 when they first brought it on, and it built a lot of traction out the gate, but then it's also a lot of work. Staying up, keeping those guys, and actually coming up with different ideas, and not just kind of, well, it wasn't perfect, but it's like, I don't know. I don't know what to talk about. And then that fizzled out in like late 21, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. Then as of recently, it was just, there was chatter starting with all the drivers. So it was like, let's bring it back. Let's see if this works. And we started off and had a bunch of great things. And yeah, this one on Wednesday, we got Driver Appreciation Week coming up here in a couple weeks. And I was just like, let's see what you guys could be useful with while you're at work. And one of the drivers brought up ice cleats for his boots. Oh. So, yeah, in the middle of winter, I'm like, no, this is perfect.
Yeah.
No slips on the ice, and we can give them to you as a little gift, and then like a little mini crock pot. Never would have thought of it, but these guys are like, oh, it's great. A couple of them already had them, and he's like, oh, I cook a steak in like 3 hours in the truck, and he's like, oh, yeah, best pasta, everything. And it's just like, it's the simple things, and it's, if we can help them have a better experience in the trucks, a lot of the times they're in these trucks more than they're even at their house.
Right.
So it's like, if we can help them just be more comfortable and be more successful with the right tools, we try to do our best to do that.
And you just think of like the job sites that they go to. I mean, driving down the road for us back towards Brandon, South Dakota, I mean, there's bridges out down there, and there's no restrooms, there's no kitchen to cook, and you might, a crane breaks down or you have an issue, you're sitting there for 10 hours. Yeah. So to be able to have some of those simple things goes a long ways.
Yeah, I think something that you hear from like salespeople is when they go out on the road and stuff, like eating out gets old fast, and I would assume that's probably the same for a lot of the drivers when they're out. Hey, it's nice to have a crock pot meal sometimes, and yeah, if they can make themselves a steak over the course of that time, oh yeah, you might have to come out with the truck driver's cookbook here at some point. Maybe it's on Amazon. It'd be interesting.
Sounds like a driver's council topic next week.
Yes. I when we moved into our house, I found all these cookbooks, and there's one called the Microwave Cookbook, and some of the things in there look pretty terrible. I'm not gonna lie, but doing everything with a microwave, and it was thick too. So.
Really?
Anyway, so might have to have your truck drivers come up with their best recipes, because one thing we talk about is field meals. You know, like farmers, and they get field meals brought out to them. So it'd be great to have a cookbook.
Yeah, especially your guys' inspections and install teams and stuff. I mean, they're out in these farms the same length of time, and busting their butt and
For
the
sure.
heat, the cold. They don't want Wendy's every night.
Nope, they don't. Well, this has been awesome, guys. I'm
Yeah.
so glad we got to make this happen. We were about, a half hour away from closing time on the last day, and
Yeah.
I don't see a single person on our entire
is.
road. So,
I did
shout out to anybody
True.
who comes to farm shows. If you want our undivided attention, you come later in the day on the last day. Not right at closing time because we do like to wrap up, but that'd be a life hack for you there.
That's
If you
right.
if you ever want to come out to a farm show and you want to have people's undivided attention, you come out in the second half of the last day, and you will have everybody's undivided attention.
Yeah.
My only last pro tip is, if you do one of these fests, park your tent right next to Ready, because they will drive people to your tent, being right next to them. So that's my pro tip for fest going forward.
There you go.
I did want to ask one thing. What does how many of these farm shows of any kind do you guys like to do, and what does a successful show mean to you, or what does that look like for you guys?
Yeah, this is our second show. Again, we just kind of really started diversifying our freight in the last year, and we did Farm Fest a couple weeks ago, and I think that went all right. And then this week, we want to get the names out there. How can we get all three of our companies out there? How can we get not only the RDOs or the dealerships, but how can we get the farmers that you guys service? How can I get them to come, and when they buy that combine or buy that air seeder, to come to us as well? And it's really hard to measure success when it comes down to marketing, because that's what we're really here to do, is drive our names out there and that to help bring it in. We got fortunate here at Dakota Fest. We got a great booth partner on the other side of us as well that walked over with a few opportunities for us as well, and so if we can wrap any of those up, that's more than a win for us. And how do we get our names out there? How do people know when they walk past, when they buy that piece of equipment, do they remember us? So that's how we measure it. It's a little bit different than most, because we're not here selling anything. We're selling a service.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely different with, like you said, you've been to two, and Adam, how many has Ready done, if you could ballpark that?
Goodness, we've probably done. I'd have to multiply this thing out. We've probably done 40 to 60 farm shows in our history, I think.
It's changed a lot.
More. I
though.
mean, we keep increasing the more we go, and
thinking about our first one into now, a lot has changed.
a lot has changed. Matt tells the story about the first one he ever went to. He put a sale on. He was going to sell blockage monitors, so we were the leading salespeople of these blockage monitors in the entire world, and we beat 28 location dealerships by 5x. So we crushed everybody else. The first time he was selling it, he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna get in there and I'm gonna do a show special," and he does this show special, and he sold half a system. So these shows can be hit and miss, and the thing about our shows that we've done is we figure out which ones are good and keep hitting those up, and some of them we double down on the size of the booth. I mean, for a while here we were sitting inside those tents there, and we said, hey, I think the more action is outside, and there's other ones where we look at and we're like, I think a 10x10 booth is plenty. So lots to learn on what your business does in the shows, and best of luck going forward on that.
And if you want to check out all of they got some awesome social media stuff going on. Follow them on Instagram, Facebook, and see them in person. They'll be at Big Iron.
We will be.
Big Iron, come on down.
Yes.
So
awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for coming on, and
Thanks for having us.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Appreciate the time. Anyway, thanks for listening, and let's keep farmers farming.
Absolutely.
There we go.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening to this episode of After Hours Ag. If you really enjoyed it, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and helps us grow and helps us reach more people. And remember, there's still a future in farming, so let's get there together.